Hello folks, and welcome back to this Cirrus Moth build. I've got a little bit more enthusiasm for the model now. After being stuck for some time on what to do with the exhaust. I haven't solved the issue yet, but I'm a little bit further on, and as part of that process I'm going to have to fill in the cutouts that I'd made before, and I've started doing that. Here you can see they've been filled, and I've done that by putting a very thin layer of 1/64 ply on the inside, and I've cut some plastic card out to fill the gap, and then I've used some car body filler over the top, give it a smooth down and a sand down. I'm going to give it a flash over now of some primer, and that will show up any other blemishes, but I'm quite happy with that, ready to start hacking away at it again. Sometimes you make mistakes, you've just got to work your way around them. This has been quite a battle. If you recall, I just glued the two halves together thinking they'd be the correct width, and it turns out it was way too wide, and I had to cut out at least 1/4 of an inch all the way down the centre and start again. So onwards and upwards, I'll get this sprayed, and then we'll have a think about how I can go about producing a better exhaust system for this model. Well, after lots of head scratching, this is what I've come up with. This cutout will allow the exhaust pipe plus this piece of silicone tubing to direct the exhaust away and down through a semi-scale sort of exhaust system. On the inside, I've used some strong magnets, and if I just show you there on the other side there, and what I do is I mark them with a permanent marker to know the polarity so that I don't mix them up. And they've been super glued in place, and now when I add this on, I think you'll probably hear it click in, and it's extremely strong. And given that there'll be a needle through here for the control that'll stop it pulling off, I don't think it's going to need any screws to hold it in. A moment. There you go, you can hear it, and that's strong enough to actually be able to pick the model up by. So if it's strong enough to pick the model up, I don't think the prop wash is going to blow it off. Plus, once the needle's in there, I think that'll stop it going anywhere. So I'm really pleased with that. The next thing, obviously I've got air getting in through here. I think I may have to make some cutouts here to allow air in. And when I do that, I may fabricate some dummy dummy engine cylinder heads, but with gaps between them to facilitate more air flowing past the real engine on both sides. Now, the exhaust on the prototype wasn't on this side, it was actually on the other side. But you know, beggars can't be choosers, and other than routing the exhaust down and out and putting a dummy exhaust on the other side, I don't think there's a way around this. It's something I'm just going to have to live with. So let's think about the exhaust that's going to come down the side here. I'm going to make that out of copper piping, and it's going to have some standoffs to hold it in position. I'm sure that that'll not cause any problems with back pressure for the engine. In fact, to a certain extent, I think it'll probably run better with a little back pressure. I will have to put a nipple in this end of the extension so that I can put a pressure feed on to feed the tank. So I will just pause it there, and I'll show you what I'm thinking about. Well, here we have the tubing. Ideally, this would be bent out of aluminium tube, but I don't think that's a possibility at the moment. In the meantime, I'll make it out of this. There's a bit of weight in it, but most of that's over the centre of gravity, and this model's going to have a very light wing loading, so it'll go something like this. Goes through that first cabine strut, It'll push on here and it'll be supported via brackets. These are just temporary ones that have been made up out of some copper piping. Brackets that will fit approximately here. And I think that greatly enhances the appearance of the model. So, that being the case, until I can get some aluminium tubing, I'm working with this. If I can't get the aluminium tubing and if I can't bend it, this is what I'm going with. It's not ideal, but it's a decent enough compromise. So there we go. I hope you found that useful or perhaps amusing, if nothing else. And if you've enjoyed watching it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'm getting a bit of motivation to push on with this model. And hopefully over the next few weeks, I'll be trying out a few techniques and methods of finishing it off. Cockpit area perhaps next. We'll have a look at that. Make the brackets. These will have to be silver soldered up, I think. Put the blocks inside to support them. And I can live with that. That's fairly in keeping with the prototype, I think. So if you can get flying, do so. If you can't, get creative and have some fun from the other aspect of this hobby, which is actually making stuff. Bye for now.